Hello guys, it's Stephen here back with another video, and today we're going to be talking about the one thing that absolutely everyone loves. Yep, it's transfers. I'm going to take a look at 5 dream players that Manchester City and Pep Guardiola could target in the 2019-2020 season. So stay tuned for that, but don't forget I am sponsored by OneFootball for the month of March. That's where I get all my transfer news from, so make sure you go and download the app in the link in the description below. It's really good. I've been using it for like a year and a half. I get all my news, I get all my stats, I get all my transfer rumours, other than this channel of course. That's where you should be getting yours from as well, so download it in the link in the description below. And also quickly, some housekeeping. I want to say thank you to Caleb Robinson, Rob Kavanagh, Ahmed Al Rafi. These guys are my newest patrons. Patreon.com/Esteemed Kompany if you want to get involved and help support this channel. But anyway, let's crack on to the 5 targets for Pep Guardiola. Now, there's been some rumours flying around about a potential transfer ban for Manchester City. Now, it's probably just nonsense from some forms of the media, but when you consider the fact that Pep Guardiola has said that City could be in the market for as many as 3 or 4 signings this summer, well, people start putting 2 and 2 together and presume maybe we're trying to get all our transfer business done nice and early. And when you consider the fact that we've got some notable Asian players and maybe some obvious holes in the squad that need filling in terms of left back and midfield, well, it gets very exciting when you look towards the potential transfer dealings this summer. So today I'm going to take a closer look at the dream signings. I'm going to start with Mr. Wan-Bissaka. Now, what more can be said about this guy? He's the hottest prospect defensively in the Premier League at the moment. Pretty much every Premier League club worth their salt is looking at him. Anyone who can afford him anyway. The likes of Arsenal, City, Chelsea, Spurs, United have all been linked to the flying right back. He's only 21 years old and this is only his breakout season, but it's been some breakout season. His defensive numbers are absolutely phenomenal. The most accomplished and successful defender in Europe's top 5 leagues at the moment. You just can't get past him. It's something like only 7 or 8 people have actually dribbled past him successfully this season, which is crazy stats. At one point, he attempted 110 tackles and won 103 of them. I think that's about a week old, that stat, but that's a 94% tackle success rate. Absolutely phenomenal. And it makes it even more remarkable when you consider the fact that he used to be a right winger and didn't like playing at right back, but he's just adapted to it perfectly. Even Roy Hodgson, his manager, was full of praise. He said he's got a very good mentality, he's got pace and determination, he's bright in that he's very receptive to information, he's very serious about his football, which shows that he would be a very good fit for a Guardiola kind of team, because Pep loves players that are willing to learn and willing to be moulded into perfect Guardiola kind of players. Now, there are some question marks about his forward ability, but it's very hard for him to have the same statistical output as a top-class fullback when he's playing in a team that has to do a lot more defending. That's no disrespect to Crystal Palace, but he simply doesn't get a chance to stretch his legs anywhere near as much as you'd like, and I'm sure if he was at Manchester City Football Club, he'd have a lot more assists going forward. But as he stands, he's a very exciting, very determined, very good and very fast fullback with absolutely loads of potential. And given that, in fact, he used to be a right winger as well, obviously he can get forward. Now, we're looking at probably 50 million plus if we go in for him. But then you've got to consider the fact we have got Kyle Walker and Danilo, 2 very experienced, 2 very good fullbacks as well. One of those would have to leave if he came in. For me, it'd actually probably be Kyle Walker, but I can't see that happening given the fact he's relatively new to the club. He's winning things now. His wages will be really high. I also can't see Danilo leaving, so it makes it very difficult. But Wan-Bissaka, for me and many other people, would be a dream signing at right back. Second on the list is Tanguy Ndombele. Now, we all know a lot about Tanguy Ndombele because we've seen him play for Lyon against Manchester City, and he's been absolutely fantastic. Now, he's only 22 years old, but he's a beast of a midfielder already. We're looking at probably excess of £70 million if you want to sign him, but for me, that could be a bargain if he fulfills his potential. Now, the best thing about Ndombele is that he plays in a very exciting team, in a very exciting league, and when he's played against big teams, be it Barcelona or even ourselves, Manchester City, he's looked absolutely exceptional. He's looked press resistant, he's looked strong, he's looked tenacious, a good turn of base, an eye for a pass as well, and he moves the ball very quickly. Essentially, the complete midfielder. Now, if he did come in, it'd be some kind of Fernandinho replacement. A lot of people say he's not actually a defensive midfielder, he's more of a box-to-box midfielder, and yes, I do agree with that, but this is Guardiola we're talking about here, the man who can manipulate any player to play anywhere that he wants to. And you got to consider the fact that when Fernandinho first joined Manchester City, he was a box-to-box midfielder as well, and learned over time that number 6 role because he has the skill set and because he has the right mentality. Now, Ndombele, for me, probably more than Frankie de Jong, who obviously City didn't get, actually suits the Premier League down to a T. That physicality, that little edge, he suits the Premier League because the French league is quite a fast league in general, and it kind of does benefit you when you've learned to play in a more physical league to come over to the Premier League. And Ndombele, I'm sure, would take to life over here like a duck to water. We all know that Pep loves players that have done it against his teams. Look at Mendy and Bernardo last season. He loves these players when he's seen them up close. And I'm sure he was watching under Bailey against Manchester City in the group stages and absolutely drooling. For me, he'd be an absolute prime candidate to take over for Fernandinho, and hopefully we go in for him big time this summer. Next on the list is Ben Chilwell, the flying fullback from Leicester City. 22 years old, Brendan Rodgers absolutely loves him, unsurprisingly. But it's got very interesting over the past few days now. Apparently, according to some reports, Leicester are likely to ask in excess of 75 million for Ben Chilwell, which is crazy. That's more than the Virgil van Dijk fee. That'd be a world record fee for a defender. Now, if that's true, that ain't going to happen. City will not be paying that. But let's just entertain the story. Let's entertain this potential transfer anyway. Now, you've got to consider the fact that there are Mendy issues here. This is what Guardiola said when he was asked about Mendy recently. He said, it's not about English football, it's the fact that he's not able to play. He's injured during 2 seasons. And if it happens in 2 seasons, it can happen in 3, definitely. So they are keeping an eye on the left-back position. Now, Delph's not been the same guy as he was last year. Zinchenko, as good as he's been recently, maybe still isn't a long-term solution. There's still some question marks there, which is fair enough. We can see how form can drop off a cliff like that. Delph last season, very good at left-back. This season, poor. It could be the same for Zinchenko. I'm sure Guardiola will see it as a bit of a risk. And Mendy, he's just always injured. So it's likely that we are looking at a left-back this summer, and probably Chilwell is high up the list. That fee could be too much. But what he does bring, obviously, is a pace, determination and energy, a complete modern fullback. He can get forward, he's physical, he's strong. I'm not sure he's as silky as the kind of fullbacks that Guardiola would usually love, but Guardiola, in my opinion, has shown that he's willing to adopt some more English traits because he understands this league. And Chilwell is very much a traditional Premier League flying fullback. He's a little bit more comfortable in possession as well than people give him credit for. He's often used as a bit of an outball for Leicester, meaning he has more touches than most of his teammates in most games. So he's very comfortable receiving the ball. But he'd have to take a massive step up in quality if he was going to become Manchester City's first choice fullback. And that fee could be the big issue here. Having said that, he's probably very much high on the list of players that City are looking at. If we can negotiate some kind of fee, I'm sure Chilwell would jump at the chance to be trained under Pep Guardiola. Brendan Rodgers may fight tooth and nail to keep him there, but Chilwell, he's the kind of person that could tick some boxes in a blue shirt. Next up, and it's a bit of a wild card, it's Luka Jovic, the Bundesliga sensation. He's currently the top scorer of the young Serbian. He's only 21 years old, but he's taken the Bundesliga by storm this season. Now, his situation's a relatively complex one. He's currently not even an Eintracht Frankfurt player. He's on loan, but they've got a right to sign him for around 5 to 6 million. They look likely to do that soon and then sell him on for around 55 to 60 million this summer. Everyone wants a piece of this young striker. When you watch his game, it's not hard to see why. Benfica will probably be gutted that they're going to sell him for so cheap, but that's what happens sometimes when you agree these deals. But he could come to Manchester City in the summer. There are rumours, and it came from Sam Lee from Goal.com, that City are keeping an eye on him. I'm not surprised. You're probably keeping an eye on most young forwards, given the fact that Aguero's getting on a bit, even though he's still in the form of his life, and Gabriel Jesus is our only other option there. That could be a bit of a deterrent for Jovic, because you might look at Aguero and think he's got 2 or 3 years left, and Gabriel Jesus is obviously very highly rated by Guardiola as well. He might not fancy his chances. He could look at Barcelona and think Suarez is getting a bit old there. I could be a replacement. And there are rumours that Barcelona are interested in, and also Bayern Munich, of course, they're going to sniff around any player that does well in the Bundesliga. Liverpool have been linked. City, Chelsea have been linked tentatively. Essentially, he's going to have his pick of European clubs if he does decide to move from Eintracht Frankfurt in the summer. And his game in general, it would suit a top club. He's basically one of those modern strikers. He can run with the ball. He's a bit physical. He's also got a very good kind of goal poacher's instinct. He's got a lot of his goals inside the penalty area because he's so good at movement off the ball. And given how much City are good at getting in behind and whipping it back, he's the kind of player that maybe can suit Pep's system at his very best. I'm still not convinced though that it will happen. His stats are really good, like 21 goals, 6 assists in 31 games. That is really good, but there are a lot of barriers to entry here. I can see him maybe going to like a Bayern or a Barcelona. He might fancy his chances more there, but it's more of a direct route into the first team, because Suarez, the consensus is that he needs replacing soon. But Aguero, I think, may be a little bit more difficult. I might be wrong here, but I just can't see it. I also don't think it's a massive pressing issue for Manchester City Football Club at the moment. I think they'd be willing to wait a year or two for this, but you never know. Stranger things have happened, and he's definitely exciting enough. And finally on this list is De Ligt, the Ajax wonder kid, the club centre-back who's only 19 years old and has made over 100 Ajax appearances already. He's a Dutch international, a Europa League runner-up already at his very young, tender age, and pretty much every big team in the world is keeping an eye on this very talented centre-back, and it's easy to see why. One glimpse at him and you can see a maturity to his game that he has no right to have already. He's only 19, but he's built like a 24, 25-year-old. He's tall, he's strong, he's extremely good on the ball, he's very comfortable, totally at home in a possession-based system. He would slot perfectly into Manchester City's defence. He's not perfect, obviously, none of these young lads that we've mentioned so far here, but they all fit that profile of players that can be improved, and De Ligt is that down to a T. And you've also got to consider the fact that Manchester City are going to need some centre-back soon. Vincent Kompany may stay, but he is getting on a little bit, and Otamendi hasn't been that happy allegedly this season with his lack of game time, and he could be one that could try and push through and move this summer. That leaves Stones and Laporte, who are obviously a massive part of Guardiola's plans, and maybe Eric Garcia could get promotion, but City could also decide that they want to kind of firm up their centre-back options for a long time, and De Ligt could be the man for that. There's some rumours that Marc Overmars, if he goes to Arsenal as sporting director, would try and tempt the player to Arsenal. There's also Barcelona links quite strongly, which is understandable given Piqué's getting on a bit as well, and he's the kind of player, he might follow his mate Frenkie de Jong to Barcelona, would not be surprised. Having said that though, it could be that he wants to plough his own path, and he could see Guardiola's Manchester City as a perfect place to play his trade. De Ligt would be a very solid fit for Manchester City Football Club, and I'd love to see him in a blue shirt. I just can't see it happening. I reckon we're looking at 65, 70 million finger. But if it does, I would be absolutely delighted, because he's potentially one of the best centre-backs in the world football, if he isn't already, potentially the very best. Under the tutelage of Pep Guardiola, I can only dream of how good he could actually be. Anyway guys, that's just the 5 dream targets for Manchester City and Pep Guardiola. Could we be signing all these next season? Probably not all of them, but if you could choose 3 or 4 out of these, who would you choose and why? And have I missed any names off this list? I'll try and do a second video, so let me know in the comments. I want to say thank you to all these people scrolling down the side of the screen as well. These are my patrons to keep this channel going. And don't forget, if you want to get involved, patreon.com/esteemed company. There's loads of tiers with different rewards and all that kind of stuff. And don't forget, if you are new to this channel as well, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get Manchester City videos all the time. Like this video. I've been Stephen, and I'll see you soon.